Hey, what's going on? Charles Austin here, and let's be fit forever. It's a wonderful Wednesday, wonderful hump day. And today I want to talk to y'all a little bit about dairy. Again, we're on part number 3. All right, dairy is death. Description in the description of this video, we have links to part 1 and part 2. And there will be several more to come. But today I want to talk to you a little bit about the danger of hormones as they're associated with dairy products. Okay, so part 3, dairy is death. We'll get ready to start here in just a second. But before we jump in, as we always say, go ahead and make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, make sure that your notifications are turned on so that you're up to date every single time I make a new stream. All right, so as I always like to do, I don't like to waste time. Let's dive right in, okay? So, where we got here? Ooh, there we go. All right. So, I wanted to start out here just kind of talking about, you know, as I always do these streams, I do my best to find good supporting information and science-backed research for everything that I discuss, right? So, found a nice one to start with here. This one literally was talking about 10 reasons to get your milk from, plant sources instead of cows, right? So, we're going to start with just number 1. It just so happened that hormones was the first thing on the list. I said, wow, what a coincidence, right? So, let's dive right in, all right? So, one of the things we got to understand from the beginning is that just like every other mammal that you can think of, including us, right? The only way that we're able to lactate and nurse our young is during pregnancy or recent delivery, right? So the thing about the dairy industry and the thing about getting milk from cows is that those cows are kept pregnant a lot, right? Almost constantly, right? So what this does is, and one of the things about pregnancy is there's increase in hormone activity, and specifically if we're talking about hormones, we're talking about estrogen, right? So when you're keeping these dairy cows pregnant all the time or very frequent, they're going to have extra high levels of estrogen, right? Now, on top of that, as we go on to discuss here, in order to make sure that they're producing even more milk, some of the things that happens in the dairy industry is that they get injected with even more hormones, right? And again, this is to make sure that the dairy cows are able to keep up with the demand of milk, okay? So, if you think about it, right, where the heck are all these hormones going, okay? So, obviously, if the hormones are in the cow already naturally during pregnancy, and then also extra hormones to make sure that they're producing lots of milk, well, there you go. It's going to go straight to the dairy products that we consume, right? So one of the biggest problems, and we're going to talk about this a few times today, one of the problems with the excessive intake of these hormones, right, is this insulin-like growth factor. Okay, and we'll talk about that in just a second, exactly what that is, right? But one of the problems with that is it's very closely tied to cancers, right? And we're talking about parts of our body that are influenced by sex hormones, okay? So let's be very specific about this as we discuss this so we can make this very clear, okay? The only way that cows can actually produce milk is to be pregnant, right? And we're talking about, this is true with mammals, right? It's to be pregnant or to be recently delivered a baby, because the reason why you continue to lactate is that baby that just came out has to eat something, right? So, these are sex hormones. Estrogen is a sex hormone, right? So, this insulin-like growth factor that is altered based on this extra intake of insulin is very closely tied to cancers associated with parts of our body that are influenced by that are strongly influenced by sex hormones. We're talking about men and women, right? Breasts, specifically more women, but also, yes, men can get breast cancer, but specifically to women, we also have ovaries, right? Ovarian cancer, and also prostate cancer. Okay, so as it says here, these are cancers that result in over 500,000 diagnoses each year. Okay, and as it goes on here, and we're gonna see this pop up over and over again. The theme today is gonna be highly related to cancer. Okay, as it relates to these hormones. Okay, but as it says here, men who consume more dairy products are 30% more likely to develop prostate cancer than those who consume little to no dairy. All right, that's huge. Okay, that's huge. All right, so keep that in mind. Now, if you're wondering, like, why are hormones even found in food, right? What's the purpose of that, right? So obviously, we know for a fact that hormones are natural in mammals. Like, we have hormones naturally. So we're not talking about the natural stuff here. We're talking about the extra, and then we're talking about what we're getting from our food sources, right? So here's some of the reasons why our hormones may be added to foods, right? In addition to the stuff that's already there, right? So one of the things that are associated with the dairy industry specifically is you have to get these. Well, this is more specific for turning animals into meat. You got to get these animals to gain weight and grow up faster, right? You have, and then they also help with the reduction in the amount of feed required. So now you're saying, hey, I got this dairy cow, and I don't have to feed it as much, right? Because of this hormone level, right? Now, here's the big one. Increased milk production. We just talked about that a second ago, okay? And then just increase overall efficiency and profitability of the meat and dairy industries, right? So again, this is about the fact that there's less waiting time from that animal being born to slaughter, okay? All right, now you're able to slaughter young animals faster because they're able to gain weight faster. And again, for dairy cows, we're talking about increased milk production. So all reasons why you would add hormones to food, right? So what is actually found in milk? All right. So again, if you talk about milk, and it doesn't matter, y'all, like if it's milk or cheese or yogurt, right? Ice cream, whatever. These things they come from milk. Cheese comes from milk. Yogurt from milk. You need milk for yogurt. All these different things, right? So we got things like prolactin, estrogen, progesterone, corticoids as well, androgens, all these different things, right? Not to mention the fact that we have this one called recombinant bovine growth hormone, right? And this is a synthetic cow hormone that encourages milk production, okay? Now, again, here comes this pop-up of this insulin growth-like factor, okay? Insulin-like growth factor, all right? So we're talking about here where, hey, maybe it doesn't have an effect on humans, but if we're manipulating growth hormones, we're affecting this insulin-like growth factor 1, okay? So before we continue to talk about this insulin growth factor, right, what is this, right? So without reading this entire article here, let's just talk about it from the surface real quick, all right? So I'm going to read it verbatim real quick. Insulin-like growth factor 1 is a principal mediator, and mediator just means kind of like something that helps communication, helps something along, etc., right? Principal mediator of growth hormone. So one of the things that this insulin-like growth factor hormone does is it kind of helps, I guess you can say help control, help communicate with your body and the growth hormone together, right? So it plays a crucial role in promoting cell growth and differentiation in childhood, and also continues to have anabolic. Anabolic just means building up growth, all right, affecting adults. So long story short, all right, this IGF-1, all right, has an effect on how growth hormone affects your body and how your cells grow over time, especially at a young age and then into adulthood. So let's keep that in mind. We're talking about how IGF-1 affects growth hormone and how that affects the growth of your body and your cells. Okay, so again, we go back here. All right, here we go. High levels of IGF-1 have been associated with increased risk of cancer of the colon, okay, pancreas, all right, endometrium, breasts, and prostate in particular. So these are the ones, again, we talked about this already. Specifically, we're talking about organs that are, or body parts that are directly affected by these sex hormones, right? So, estrogen and progesterone in women and testosterone in men are important sex hormones, obviously. But again, if we're affecting these and we're causing these to have abnormalities, now we're going to be increasing our risk for cancer of body parts associated with sex hormones, okay? So again, they're putting these hormones in all the food they're putting hormones in the food for all these different reasons. And then now we got to figure out what is the effect on our bodies, right? So here we go. Continuing on, right? Oh, this is just another study here. Dairy products, calcium, and prostate cancer risk, right? So here's another one. At the end of the day, we're not going to go through the entire study, right? I try to keep these videos short and sweet and to the point, right? At the end of the day, in this study, where they were studying calcium intake mainly from dairy products, and they were trying to figure out its effect on prostate cancer risk, all right? The hypothesis is supported that dairy products and calcium are both associated with a greater risk of prostate cancer. Okay, so again, we're talking to the gentlemen out there to understand that the ice cream and the cheese and the milk and the yogurt and all those other dairy products are consistently being reported to increase the risk of prostate cancer. Okay, so what are some other things? Not necessarily just cancer, right? So why ditching dairy is important for your hormones, right? So some other things, right? Insulin issues, okay? So we've already talked about diabetes a few times when we talked about chronic disease here on this channel, right? But one of the primary reasons why dairy is linked to things like acne is because it raises insulin in the body, right? And of course, we know insulin is something that helps regulate blood sugar, and insulin in the pancreas is highly related to diabetes, right? But specifically here, if we're talking about raising insulin in the body, well, now we're talking about acne here as well, okay? So it raises our levels of insulin, which causes blood sugar swings, which can lead to acne. So if you're somebody who knows right now that they're suffering from skin issues, acne, maybe the first thing you might want to do is try to get rid of dairy products, right? What about mood swings, right? So again, estrogen and testosterone, if they're in balance, perfect, all right? But when those things get out of balance, it's possible that you could suffer more mood swings and it could affect your general overall temperament, right? So we want to make sure that we're keeping that in balance. But again, dairy contains lots of extra hormones that can throw those hormones out of balance, right? So again, also, we've already talked about this ad nauseum already, cancer causing. So again, we've seen 1, 2, we've seen 3, 4 different reports of the cancer associated risk in consuming dairy based on their hormone content, okay? So moving on. Oh, what do you know? Another study, y'all. I'm just going to keep it going. I'm just trying to go with the facts here, y'all, right? So again, results, okay? The data has indicated that the presence of the steroid hormones in dairy products could be counted as an important risk factor for various cancers in humans. Okay? Go on and on, right? So, as I go on, what are some of the eight foods that are wreaking havoc on your hormones, right? So we're not going to go over all 8. We're going to go specifically to the one that we're talking about, right? So if you want to go through the list, hey, what do you know? Non-organic food, et cetera, et cetera. Sugar, we know that's terrible. Factory farm animals, we know that's terrible. All right, nobody should be eating white bread, right? But there it is, dairy. Dairy. Okay, so as we're talking here, a lot of times we talk about conventional dairy and we talk about organic dairy and all these different things. Long story short, again, it doesn't matter if it's organic or not. we're talking about this IGF-1 rearing its ugly head again, okay? So again, what are we talking about? Increased risk of diabetes now. We haven't even discussed diabetes here, okay? We're talking about increased risk of increasing your triglycerides. And also, again, we've already talked about acne. All right, sebum. This is basically an oil that helps hydrate your skin. Too much of it can clog your pores and result in acne. Okay. So what do we have on the list so far as we get ready to wrap up, y'all? We have mood swings, right? We have prostate and ovarian cancer. We have acne. Okay. We have diabetes. Okay, all reasons to make sure that we are avoiding dairy products at all costs. One of the things I always coach my clients on when I'm giving nutrition guidance is that, hey, yes, is it okay to consume meat? Okay, if we keep our ratio low in relation to plants, right? I normally try to stay somewhere around 90% plants, maybe 10% on the meat, 85-15, somewhere in that area. But dairy is something that we want to make sure we avoid at all costs, right? Now, before I wrap up, I did want to bring up one little nugget here, right? So some of y'all might be saying, well, wait a minute. You're showing all the reasons why you shouldn't consume dairy, and you're doing it because you're framing your argument the way that you want it to be seen, right? I'm showing you all the reasons why hormones affect your health, and specifically we talked about that insulin growth factor, right? The IGF-1, right? So here's an article that I thought was interesting. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, I thought this was interesting. So again, this one was asked the Dr. Dairy, should I be concerned about hormones in milk? Okay, well, I'm gonna read a little bit of this verbatim. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but I'm gonna point out a few things here. So, while all cow's milk from organic to conventional contains tiny amounts of natural occurring hormones, the current evidence shows that milk is safe, right? Most living things, including plant and animal foods such as legumes, grains, milk, meat, and eggs, contain hormones which can be thought of as messengers that help regulate specific functions in plants, animals, and people. Hormones are important to life. I have no problem with that, okay? Many hormones are proteins, so when they're eaten as part of foods, enzymes in the gastrointestinal tract digest them, which stops their biological activity in the body. Therefore, naturally occurring hormones in milk are not a health concern. No hormones are added to milk. All right, so let's go ahead. I don't even need to read anymore, okay? But I did want to point out a couple of things that were clear. I don't know, can I say the word lie? Is that okay? Lies? I don't know. How about mistruths? Or maybe I can say alternative facts. Is that safe to say? All right. But let's start right here. Therefore, naturally occurring hormones in milk are not a health concern. Well, according to the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and a study done on dairy products, calcium, and prostate cancer risk in the Physician's Health Study, the conclusion was that dairy products are associated with a greater risk of prostate cancer. So I think we have our first contradiction, right? Oh, what about the fact that the presence of hormones in dairy products could be counted as an important risk factor for various cancers in humans, right? Or what about the fact that we said, and these are also, if we want to pull up the sources, oh man, don't you hate when that happens, right? Here we go. There we go. That one works, right? So, problem with the link on the other one. But again, if we want to talk about this one, here we go. We're talking about intake of these hormones. We're talking about estrogen and then having that IGF-1, all right, are tied to cancers, specifically breast, ovarian, and prostate, okay? Well, as we continue on, we're talking about cancer causing, all right? We're talking about mood swings, and we're talking about insulin issues, all right? Did we talk about the fact that we also are associating this with acne, increased triglycerides, and diabetes, okay? Now, that's the first problem I have with that. Now, the next part here is where it says that no hormones are added to milk. No hormones are added to milk. Well, we just talked about the reason why hormones are found in food, all right? So, The reason why they added is because we want to make sure that those animals will grow faster. We want to make sure that they reduce the amount of feed they need. They want to increase milk production and profit. Here it is right here. Profit. Okay? So that's another issue. Last but not least, y'all, the current evidence shows that milk is safe. Again, if it's this easy, all right, and I don't spend a lot of time when I search for my articles, I try to find the best ones that I can use to support my arguments as well. But it didn't take long to find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we didn't even go over this one here. 7 different examples of why dairy is not safe. All right, so again, if we want to talk about where is this information coming from, well, let's click who this person is, where it's very simple. Chief Science Officer at the National Dairy Council. So I think it's in your interest to make sure you say that dairy is safe. So again, you got to consider these things when we're consuming dairy and we're giving dairy to our children. Think about giving dairy to our children in schools. We're growing them up on all of these hormones, and we're starting them off early with increasing their risk for cancers, all right, to develop later on in life. Again, these aren't things that happen overnight. It takes time, all right? But if you're looking at the current epidemic in the country where we're talking about high cancer, high heart disease, high obesity, dairy is part of it, all right? So, time for a quick little summary, and then we'll do a Q&A, all right? So, real quick, the main highlight here for today was to outline the presence of hormones in dairy products and their effect on this insulin-like growth factor 1, which is closely tied to cancers, right? We specifically talked about cancers of the breast, ovaries, and prostate, okay? We also talked about why they actually put this in our foods, right? So when they give it to the animals and then we drink their milk, then bam, we're also adding extra hormones to our bodies as well. We talked about different studies, prostate cancer here. All right, we're talking about mood swings, insulin issues, as well as, there it is again. Every single article that I found always discuss this one here, cancer, which of course in the United States, cancer is the second leading cause of death in this country, right? So again, long story short, and I also outlined the fact that yes, can you find conflicting information to the truth? Absolutely you can, but you have to consider where it's coming from. All right, this is literally coming from usdairy.com, and obviously they're going to continue to tell you the lie that these foods are safe, despite the fact that study after study after study after study tells you the contrary. All right, let's see if we do a little Q&A today. And for the folks on Instagram, keep in mind we got the full stream with screen share on YouTube. So if you're wondering what am I looking at over here, I'm looking at my screen share where I'm sharing all of my data with everybody else. All right. So quiet today. Oh, real quick. Let's pull that back up real quick. One little thing before I go, y'all. Here we go. Okay. If you go to fitnesscharles.com right now, it's easy to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can subscribe to my YouTube right here. You can also click here and try 2 weeks of my 3 times to burn fitness program for free. And very soon we're going to start raffling off your chance to win your own Fit Forever family membership here with me. All right, we're getting ready to launch this July 1st. We originally said we were getting ready to launch this June 1st. It's going to take a little bit longer. I'm still working on all the materials. So we'll get ready for that. We'll start doing raffles in just a little bit, but we'll get ready to launch that July 1st. So make sure you check that out as well. All right. Again, also here, you can check out both of my books. You can purchase them right now. 85-15 diet plan, where I specifically explain how it's perfectly easy and easy to fit in 85% of our diet coming from plants and the other 15% coming from those animal sources, and also the toilet book as well. What goes in matters, right? So you can find that right now. What is an alternative? Yeah. So, good question. What is an alternative to dairy products? Obviously, things like almond milk is very popular, and I think they make cheese out of like cashews a lot. Like you can make cashew queso. There's cheese slices made out of cashews, right? Delicious. Eat it all the time, right? So you got almond milk, cashew milk. You have coconut milk. You have flax milk made out of flax seeds. You have oat milk made out of like oats. Yeah, like if you eat oatmeal, that's exactly what we're talking about. What else is there? Soy milk. There's so many different alternatives to dairy products. And you can find different versions of ice cream. You can find different versions of yogurt, ice cream sandwiches, ice cream bars. All of that stuff is made from plants, and you don't have to have the dairy products. Butter as well, things like that don't have to have dairy. Pretty much if you name it, there is an alternative to dairy products that you can have if you're trying to wean yourself off of that. Okay, excellent question. All right. So again, we always do these streams live every Monday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Time, and every Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Time as well. We'll be staying. Make sure you stay tuned for the next part of my Darius Death series. We've done part 1. We've done part 2. We just wrapped on part 3. Part 4 will be coming real soon. But the next time I will see y'all will be Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time. All right, so again, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on so that you're always up to date with the latest content. I will see y'all next time.